What is up, everybody? We are back with the great stuff. Fantasy breakdown. We are at week number 4, and we are getting it going here with a weird week.
Yeah.
Weird week
Oh,
to
yeah.
say the least. We've now have some games suspended. We have other games in limbo, I guess here.
Oh, yeah.
Cam Newton's now down. I think I read last night we have some Saints that have now tested positive. Ugh.
Tough times, man. Really tough
Do we
times.
keep the season? Do we keep the season? That is going to be probably the biggest question that we receive here. I don't know.
I've seen talks about them potentially suspending for a few weeks and then cutting the season down a little. I think you got to do something, man. I don't think this is something that's going to go away. I think that it's trending in the wrong direction. So, not loving where that's going right now.
Yeah, this is crazy. Crazy.
The Saints will go. Yeah, I saw it was their fullback had a positive, but I guess it ended up being a false positive. So that's awesome to hear, man. You don't want to see any of this kind of stuff happen, especially not at the risk of losing some football. And my fear is that the farther we get through this season, the more of these tests come up. They're gonna have to step in at some point. But hey, we got football today. Another day with football. You gotta love it. You gotta love it.
All right, let's get into these stardoms. We're gonna probably bang through this stuff pretty quickly, guys.
Oh yeah.
I woke up late. JG was late, so we're all late today. But,
right, just one of those days. One of those days, man.
So the first one I'm gonna go with is because the Seahawks are banged up a little bit. It's gonna be Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Mm-hmm.
I think he might have a great day. No Jamal Adams, so Jamal Adams won't be down in the box flying at you like he normally does. So the disruption part of the Seattle Seahawks defense is missing today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that Fitz has looked great. And while Fitz is someone that I'm very firm and he has a life cycle where he looks great, and then once you start to trust him, that's when we see the real Fitzpatrick come out. But I think that this is just too good of a matchup. I think this team's look good, too good. He was 18 for 20 passing last week. Now, mind you, very good matchup, but I think this is a great matchup as well. I think this is likely to be a pretty high-scoring game. That Seahawks offense has been flying. The Dolphins defense been bad. Seahawks defense been bad. I really love this pick of Fitzpatrick. I think we're going to see a lot of Fitzpatrick today. Looking forward to that one.
And the big thing is that the Seahawks have been giving up 24 points to quarterbacks.
That's a big number. That's a very big number.
I like
and the way
points.
We've seen Fitz, yeah. Oh yeah, we'll take that. And especially like on this week, man. If you had a Mahomes or a Cam, you know, Big Ben, like you can't start these guys now. You might be able to get Fitzy off the waiver wire, and that's something that you really have to keep an eye on today. Keep an eye on these games. Keep an eye on who's playing. That's big time right here. This is big keys.
Sure. And then I'm gonna go Joe Burrow today. Like Joe Burrow, I think he has a good matchup versus them, and I think he's getting a little bit. I think is where you're gonna see Higgins. I think Higgins is gonna line up and do some work today. He's bound to be there. He's bound to be the guy and come alive here. And I think this might be the week where Joe actually gets to click. And we're now 4 weeks in, so he's got 4 weeks of speed at him. So basically, preseason's over.
Yep.
This is last game of preseason, week 5. I've been talking about week 5 is where I think we'll start seeing everything. And that these guys are healthy.
Yeah.
But
get that quote preseason in, you know. I think that I mean it's just a great matchup, and Joe Burrows looks so good. He's actually sitting at QB 11 on the year, which is fantastic. I think that he's got the weapons. I mean, we've seen, of course, T. Higgins is emerging. Tyler Boyd has actually, I think, taken AJ Green as the number 1 for at least for a fantasy standpoint. And Mixon is going to play. I think that might have been a bit of a hit for him because I'm not a big Gio Bernard guy, but I just think this is a great matchup. I think that both sides of this has some good looks to it, but I think Joe Burrow is a really good start right now for sure.
then our guy here, your guy that you don't like, Jared Goff, going versus New York. But this is definitely stated for Goff to go off. I mean, this is New York.
Yeah,
I actually
Goff's got a good matchup.
I actually dropped Goff.
Yeah, I think Goff is someone who's not super consistent, but you look at what Nick Mullins did, 343 last week against the Giants. So I think that Goff's in a great spot. I love Cup. I love Woods today. Higbee should have good looks, and Darrell Henderson is a guy that I am. I thought I was going to be high on Malcolm Brown this year, but it's Darrell Henderson's job now. He has looked electric, and I just think this Rams team has too many weapons on offense. Goff has been good. Goff has been good. He's had good matchups. I think that Goff's a guy, when he has a good matchup, he typically shows out pretty well. And I just don't think there's anyone on this Giants team that can slow him down. You know, they don't have a real playmaker, I don't think, these days. I mean, that defense is very thin, offense even thinner. The only thing that worries me here is Daniel Jones might throw a couple picks. Next thing you know, they're in a run script. But I think Goff is a lock for at least 14 plus points here.
And I'm going to go on a limb here. I'm not going to follow our typical stuff here, but I'm going with Justin Herbert this week. I think he's gonna.
I like that.
I think he is. I think he's gonna hit stride. I mean, he's thrown great the past 2 weeks. I think he can do it again this week. They have enough weapons out there, and I believe they're pretty healthy this week too. So
They are. I mean, I love that offense, man. I mean, Keenan Allen and Eckler both with 10 plus catches last week. Herbert just so natural out there. I mean, he's got a bit of a tough matchup with the Bucks, mind you, but I think that the way this game is likely looking is probably a relatively high scoring game. I think both defenses will play pretty well, but I think that's going to be a really good game from a quarterback standpoint. I think him and Brady might see a bit of a duel there, and I'm excited for that game. It's going to be a fun game to watch.
and we get him to sit on this one's kind of interesting, but it is the Bears. Got Philip Rivers taking a sit this week against the Bears. This one doesn't sit completely solid with me for the fact that the Bears defense hasn't been fantastic yet. I mean, they've been good. They've been good, but I mean,
yeah, I think this is a case where I think it's more so that Rivers hasn't done a ton this year. He's actually sitting at the QB 30, so this has been a very run-heavy attack. I think Jonathan Taylor is a relatively must-start today against the Bears defense, because the Bears defense does really well against the pass. They've done pretty well. I mean, they held Matt Ryan to very little. But here's the thing: is they're struggling against the run. They don't have Eddie Goldman right now. I think that's a big piece of that defense that they're missing, and they're gonna really struggle to stop that run. And I think that the Colts are a team that they'll play to their opponent's weakness, and I think that's what we're gonna see today.
yeah. And then we got Nick Foles, and I mean, I kind of agree with this one here because Nick, this is only gonna be Nick's second week, and this is gonna be the first time as a starter for the Bears. He came in as a backup, and we know Nick does great coming off the bench. I don't know why the guy comes off the bench and does great, but that's where he lives.
Bizarre, so weird.
But this one, I think you have to let him throw a little bit here. You got to let him get a week under his belt as a starter, see what he looks like, see how things go.
Yeah, I mean, Foles definitely looked great coming to that game, but I mean, you look at this Colts defense; they have allowed the fewest fantasy points to quarterbacks. They've been playing fantastic. They're the highest scoring defense right now in, I believe, all formats. They can get the takeaways. They can get the sacks. This is a dangerous defense that I think really surprised a lot of people, especially me. I mean, I'm not super close to watching Colts football, but to see what I've seen out of them, this is a potential contender. And it's not because of their offense. It's 100% because of their defense right now. And I think that sitting Nick Foles here, you got to. I mean, maybe take a shot on like a DFS or like a daily, but yeah, you got to sit him.
Then they're gonna call for the sit versus Kirk Cousins here.
Yeah,
Kirk Cousins versus the Texans, 0-3 Texans. That's not a good look for you there, Kirk.
Right.
Getting sacked versus an 0-3 team. But
now I could see an avenue where Kirk shows up a little bit, but I just think that you can't trust this guy. We've seen it time and time again where he's just so inconsistent, man. He's a guy that can show up and throw for multiple touchdowns or multiple interceptions on the snap of a finger. Like it's one of those guys where, while this is normally a good matchup with Texans, you can't trust this guy. You cannot trust Kirk Cousins. And on the other side, that I kind of like Watson. Watson's a guy who I think is turning in the right direction. And I think that Vikings defense can't get a stop. So, I mean, if you're starting a quarterback there, I think you've got to go Watson over Kirk for sure.
And then heading into these running backs.
Oh, yeah.
So, Eckler, as you've been screaming on Eckler. Eckler's been getting runs, been getting like ridiculous amount of catches for a running back. Kind of like he's like a receiver now. But
Yeah,
I'm definitely loving having this up here. That means hopefully our guy Hubert throws the ball all over the fucking place, and
oh, for sure. I mean, he's been slinging that rock 30 plus times. I mean, Eckler's got average 7.5 targets with Herbert, and that's just in the pass game. That's not even including the run. And while Josh Kelly has taken some of those snaps at running back, Eckler's just so dynamic, man. And in this matchup, I think we touched on this a little bit. I think it's going to be a shootout. I think that despite the Bucs defense being really good, I think that there's not a lot of film on the rookie quarterback here, and it's tough. It's tough to bottle up a guy like Eckler, especially when there's other weapons out there. I mean, Keenan Allen's a guy who's pretty much a must start for me this week. He looked fantastic last week, and I think he's going to look good again. It's going to be a fun game to watch, and I really like Eckler there.
yeah, he's definitely one of those guys. He's got that factor like Reggie Bush and
Yeah, and
Barry
that's what
Sanders
you
type
want
of
in
deal
fantasy.
where they get the ball in their hand and they're primed for a big play almost every time.
Yeah, and then the big thing too is, especially if you're a PPR league, man, you got to get these guys who can catch. I mean, Eckler's one of them, and this next guy's one of them too. James
It,
Robinson,
man,
love this guy.
you've been high on this guy. You picked him up early, I believe, on
I
your team.
drafted him too. Yeah, yeah. I mean, because you looked at that running back room, and it's like you had pretty much Chris Thompson and then a bunch of guys that no one had heard of. So some people took a shot on, I think his name was like Ogazale or Ogabale, something like that.
Yeah.
And he ended up hitting IR early. So it was pretty much James Robinson and no one else there. And man, this is just another one where the game script is always against the Jags. They're going to be throwing a lot. And a guy like James Robinson, he can run it in, he can catch it, and then get touchdown that way. This is a dynamic guy. I mean, he's got 120 yards in back-to-back games. Like he's had at least 90 yards in every game this season. That is 100% must-start stuff right there. If for some reason your league they're sleeping on the waiver wire and you can get this guy, oh man, dude, this guy could win you a title. This guy could take you to the promised land of fantasy football.
And then let's see here. We have Jonathan Taylor. We've been high on him since he's been touching the rock, man. This guy, he's got it. He's a running back. As long as he stays healthy here, he's gonna do great. Plus,
Absolutely.
he's got the Bears defense. They're not good during the run.
Yeah. That Eddie Goldman loss, I mean, I touched on earlier. That's big, man. He's a really big X factor. I mean, just to have a guy that can not only take up those blocks, but he can get the play rec, get off those blocks too. Very dynamic player there. And yeah, it's a run first game for the Colts right now. And I think Jonathan Taylor is a lock for another 13 fantasy points, which he's had every single game this season. So you got to roll with him. You got it.
Then we got Darrell Henderson finally getting a start here. I think he's putting Cam Akers and then putting Malcolm Brown down for a little bit at least because he's been playing so good. Another guy has a huge upside because he can catch the ball and he can run the ball.
Absolutely.
And he's fast. So, and he gets the Giants defense, which is god awful.
So bad. I mean, that's something that we're going to talk about a lot on the show is if you have a running back who can catch the ball, especially in PPR, but even outside of it, that's just an extra chance for scoring. And that's something you've got to get. You've got to get the guy who can do it all. It's like with quarterbacks. You want a guy who can also scramble and get you those rushing touchdowns because that's another X factor that some people kind of pass up a lot of the time.
Yeah, and now we have, and then we get into the sit-ems, and this one, I agree. I'm on Joshua Kelly. I think Eckler is just going to see so much out of this game this week that Kelly might be lost. I think he's still going to get his touches. Like he might get his touches in the red zone and stuff like that. That's where he might be useful. So I mean, this is one of those things. You just got to see what they end up doing with him. Now that you have Eckler going off the way he is.
I think the thing with Kelly here is the Bucs defense is pretty good overall. I think that they can stop the run in short yardage for a kind of power guy, but it's kind of those what you call is like a scat back kind of deal, like these receivers. I think that's just such an X factor where Eckler is going to have a good showing, and I think game script wise, we're going to see more of him because we haven't seen a lot of pass catching from Kelly. He's more of that downhill runner guy, and while he's bound to get those touches in the red zone, I just think that this Bucs defense will be able to hold him up a little bit. If Kelly's in the game, they'll probably run into him or go and play action. So I do think that this is definitely a game that's going to be tough for Kelly to see a lot of work in.
Then they got the sit-ems. Antonio Gibson. I have a hard time doing this one, but the Redskins offense is just so not consistent.
Yeah,
That's the only
yeah,
way I can put it is they're not consistent.
absolutely.
The line is so bad. The line is beat up. Um, and that's the thing is the line. I've been on the line the whole year. The line was going to cause issues. I think if they
I
can get
mean,
somebody
yeah.
over there that they have a decent line,
Mhm.
they could get stuff done. But I don't think Haskins is. I really think that's one of Haskins' biggest issues. He's not comfortable.
Absolutely. I mean, the O line pretty much controls the game. I mean, we've seen great teams fail because of this O line issue, and this is a team that they have fantastic pieces. Just they can't get it all come together. We got reports that if Haskins doesn't play great today and against the Ravens, we might see him get benched for Kyle Allen potentially though Alex Smith, which I would love to see. But I think that just for Haskins, he's in a tough spot these days. And Antonio Gibson, fewer than 15 touches in every game. Like I think Gibson's got a bright future, but I just think that the way this team is right now, it's not conducive to fantasy stars outside of Terry McLaurin, who we talk about all the time. This guy can play at a high level. He's going to get you points any time of the week. I'm pretty sure he's got 10 points in every game. And then I think Logan Thomas at tight end. Other than that, though, I don't trust this offense at all. I mean, you could take a boom or bust guy like I believe Sims is out today, so their third guy might be stepping up a little bit there. But yeah, it's just one of those things where you can't trust this offense and the O line. As that goes, the team goes.
Yeah, and then we're gonna have Adrian Peterson. He had a great. He looked good in his week one, but he's kind of fallen a little bit the last 2 weeks here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go against the Saints defense. I gotta sit him.
Yeah, I agree. I think
Yeah,
that this is a tough matchup for him here.
yeah, I hope he does well. I'm a big AP fan, so hopefully he does well.
Oh,
But
I've always loved Adrian Peterson, but I think the thing here is you have Swift and Carry On to potentially take away the snaps, and I think there's going to be a pass-heavy game because the Saints don't have Lattimore, so that opens up things for Galladay a lot. Galladay looked fantastic coming back last week. I think that this is a game where you're going to see it aired out a decent amount, and something that worries me here is the Saints haven't looked great without Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas has already been ruled out of this game. And while that means good things for Kamara has been absolutely on fire.
Freaking nuts.
I think that overall, this team struggles when they don't have Mike Thomas. Drew Brees struggles without him, and then no Jared Cook either. So there's like almost a chance here that we could see a Lion situation where they're trying to run the ball to ice the game a little bit with Adrian Peterson. But I just think that when you're getting that far into a game script prediction to make sure a guy's got value, then you're in trouble. Because if you're fighting to try to get a reason to start a guy, probably shouldn't start the guy, but man, Adrian Peterson, future Hall of Famer, first ballot likely. Love to see him play.
We're gonna jump into the receivers here. I'm gonna go. I really like this pick here. We got Odell Beckham versus the Cowboys. Odell came on last week versus the Redskins or Washington football team, whatever you want to call him. He actually got targeted, and that offense looked good when you get Odell the ball, it opens up everything for everybody else. And
Absolutely.
I really think they need to start feeding Odell the ball a little bit here, drawing his attention, getting people drawn to him. That way they can run the ball better. I mean, their running game looked good regardless. They got a great running game over there. They got they got Chubbs. It's just a dynamic duo. You got two different speeds, and you got the power of both those guys. It's just unreal.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, this has been such a run-first team, which has really helped the trickle-down effect. I mean, Odell has received at least 6 targets in every game this season, but I think that this is a matchup where we've talked about the Cowboys defense. We don't need to keep going over this thing. It's bad. It's beaten down. It's broken up. They need to do something to stop the passing game, but they just haven't done it yet. I think Baker shows up today. I think that he might be feeling dangerous. I do love this matchup for Odell Beckham. And something that helps too is Jarvis Landry's having hip injuries, issues there. He's been on the injury report every single week here. So I think that Odell's going to continue to see these targets. I think he's due a breakout game. It's been, man, probably a good year since we've seen like a real legit stud fantasy performance from him. And I think this is the time he does it. He's trending in the right direction here.
Then the guy you're calling for, Tyler Boyd versus the Jags. This is where you think he steps up. And, I mean, throwing the ball 60 times.
Yeah, it's insane.
These guys are going to get their looks. These receivers are going to get their looks over in Cincinnati right now.
Yeah, and what's crazy too is fantasy points have gone up in every game, and his targets have as well. I mean, he's also put up back-to-back games with at least 20 points. You're facing a Jags team that has no real players on defense. You're probably going to see just lots and lots of passing too, because Burrow just loves to sling that rock, and man, you got to love that. When you're looking at a game where the game script is looking for 30, 40, 50 passing attempts, you've got to get out on those shares of the wide receivers. And I think Tyler Boyd has been a stud so far. I think he's overtaken AJ Green as the number one there. I think T. Higgins looks fantastic as well. But man, Tyler Boyd, he's going to have another 20 points. He's going to have at least a touchdown. PPR, he's going to have a good 8 to 10 catches. Like, he's going to be a stud today.
Then we're going Robert Woods. Robert Woods gonna have. I think he's gonna have a day against this Giants defense. We don't have
him and Cup, man. Both of them.
It's
Both
gonna
of them
be
could have
nuts.
20 points.
It's gonna be nuts. I think the Rams give the Giants a beatdown that they are not ready for. I think it's gonna be bad all over the Giants' place.
Yeah, it's that game has everything written of the Rams deciding to score 50 points and Sean McVay is just laughing the whole time. This is a game where I like Woods, I like Cup, I like Henderson, I like Goff, I even like Higbee. Like this is a game where if you have a Ram, you probably want to start him, unless it's something real weird like a Josh Reynolds. Don't start him. But if they're a starter on the Rams, they're starting for you right now. This team's looked great. Offense has looked great. Great matchup. You got to start him.
Yeah, this right here, this one hurts my soul. Terry McLaurin gonna be a sit-em. It's rocky. It's rocky right now with the Washington football team. I mean, Haskins looked absolutely terrible last week.
He looked lost.
Yeah,
it looked like it was his debut, but he's been there for a year. Like, it was weird, man. Real weird.
So you gotta sit Terry here. It's gonna be rough for me because I gotta find somebody to plug.
Right. Because I mean, Terry's a guy that I do view as matchup proof, but I think that we talked about it. This O line is just so tough. I think that if we end up seeing Kyle Allen in the game, we don't know what he's going to do. He tends to target the running back out of the backfield and the tight end more than the receivers. So I think that's tough. And then Marlon Humphrey, the guy's a stud. I definitely worry about that matchup for sure.
And then this one's huge. John Brown. This guy's been electric. Like,
yeah.
But he's going against the Raiders. So it's tough out there. I mean, and plus I think he's got a little bit of an injury too. Got a little injury going on.
Yeah, knocked out the last game.
And you got Zach.
The Raiders
is back this week.
Yeah, I think that's big. I think that the dual running back system. I mean, Singletary's been pretty good. We got the rookie in there, in Zach there, and I do think that this is a game that is going to be close. There's going to be a lot of points scored, but the Raiders have surprisingly only allowed one touchdown to receivers, fourth fewest fantasy points to the position. And this is a Raiders defense that's been surprisingly good. I mean, Brown's electric. If you can't find anyone, I could still see him being viable, especially with the way Josh Allen's been this year. But I think that if you're betting on him to get a big touchdown to score for you this week, and that's your only avenue for points, I think that's a tough one. I think that the targets get spread around so evenly there. Tough matchup. You got to sit him here.
Then T.Y. Hilton versus the Bears. T.Y. has not been good this year. I mean, and plus, I mean, there's the tight end. We all know Rivers. Rivers loves his tight ends. And the running backs have just been crazy out there. Taylor's been ripping it up. T.Y. might be on that down spiral where he's not gonna be that guy anymore in fantasy.
Yep. Fewer than 10 fantasy points in all 3 games this season. Like that hurts your team right there. And I mean, they're winning without him. I mean, we talked about the tight ends. Mo Alley Cox been fantastic. Jack Doyle came back from injury, and they also just activated a rare name here, a Trey Burton sighting. Trey Burton is actually playing a game, folks. He's not injured anymore. So we'll see how that works out for him, especially with the Pittman injury. We could see more Trey Burton out there. I think that this is just a situation where T.Y. is just not getting the targets, and you can't trust him against this Bears defense. Great defense there. You got to sit him. Have not allowed a touchdown to wide receiver this whole season as a Bears defense.
Then we get into the tight ends. This one's crazy because we haven't heard Jimmy Graham in a while. Jimmy Graham,
been a long while.
Jimmy Graham starting versus the Colts defense. So I don't got much on that because Jimmy Graham hasn't done much, but we're gonna go on a limb there.
Here's the sneaky thing with Jimmy Graham. So the Colts are good against tight ends. In fact, they've only allowed 3 points on average. But here's the thing: this offense looked good in the half game we saw with Foles. When Foles came in the game, Jimmy Graham got 7 targets from him. And that's just in about a quarter and a half, maybe 2 quarters of football. So the fact that we saw that kind of targeting from Foles to Jimmy Graham, I think that's something that we got to keep an eye on there. I mean, 7 targets to a tight end and not even a full game at that. This is a game that's probably going to be pass heavy. I don't love what I've seen out of David Montgomery. Tariq Cohen out for the year. Not really sure what they have at running back outside of Montgomery as well. So I definitely think that Jimmy Graham's going to see a lot of passes. Matt Nagy's offense very pass heavy in that regard. So it's going to be interesting here. I think that despite the tough matchup, I like Jimmy Graham a lot. I do.
And the guy I'm pretty heavy on is TJ Hawkinson. I think he's gonna. This is another guy that I love, and I think they're gonna throw the ball like crazy down.
Oh yeah,
down there now. They got Galladay. You said Galladay's back now. He's got.
Yep.
He's gonna draw attention. I think this is where TJ has another day. He's been
Absolutely.
solid all year for me. So.
Yeah, he's been fantastic. I mean, he's had at least 4 catches, 50 yards in every single game. I mean, you give me 4 catches, 50 yards, you throw in a touchdown. At tight end, that is big value. That is really good value right there, and I think that's a great way to go here.
And we're gonna get Darren Waller. Hopefully.
Yeah, curious case of Darren Waller this year. You never know really what you're getting out of him, but I think that being healthy, good matchup here facing the Buffalo Bills, who haven't played great against tight ends, which is surprising enough. Second most receiving yards to tight ends. And when you have a guy like Darren Waller, who's absolutely electric, man, this guy's going to get you those touches. He's going to be the red zone target. They don't have Henry Ruggs again. So that's just one more, top name. Edwards, the other rookie, he's out as well. So you're going to see a lot of passing to guys like Waller, Hunter Renfrow I'm high on today. So, yeah, you got to start this guy. I think he's going to be good today.
And let's see here. We get into. I'm gonna go with Mark Andrews, and this is huge. I think this is gonna be a big day for Mark.
Yeah.
Just because
great matchup right here.
I think hopefully it's not that way, but you got Chase Young out. You also have Matt Ioannidis out. They're all that line now. A defensive line is kind of, I don't want to say beat up, but missing 2 big parts. I mean, they still have Deron Payne. They have Jonathan Allen now. So I'm sure we'll see Jonathan Allen out at the right end over there for Chase or Sweat. One of those 2 guys will be over there. But I think it's gonna be one of those things these day that he actually gets a good run here and gets good throws to.
Yeah, I think that while the Ravens haven't looked great, really bad showing on Monday. He did lead the team in targets, did Mark Andrews. I think that they do have a lot of talent there, but I think in terms of safe plays, I think Andrews has got to be there, especially when you're facing, like we mentioned, this Washington team's very beat up right now, missing a lot of pieces. I think Lamar bounces back. I think Lamar is likely your highest scoring quarterback this week because they want to prove a point here. They're like, hey, Lamar can throw the ball, guys, in bad matchups. Not in good matchups, but bad matchups. He can do it. He can do it. Or bad defense.
Not a Sunday night prime game either.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you'll be good out there. You'll be good.
Yeah, so you got to go there. I'm not like over like pumped about it, but I think he's just got to take that chance with him.
Yeah, because I mean, if you have Mark Andrews, you probably drafted him pretty high. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people came into this season really high on this Ravens offense, and they've struggled. They really have. I think a big part of that is people are kind of catching on to Lamar's tendencies a little bit, and I think that O-line is not the best, really. But yeah, I mean, a star like that, you got to.
Oh, I forgot to hit too on this earlier. Is that you have a Jalen Hurts sighting today? He is starting. Pretty sure I read that.
Yeah, that's interesting. That is very interesting.
I called this last week. Said it was coming. I said if not Foles, but Carson Wentz didn't put on a game, I thought they were gonna pull the plug, and they pulled it.
Yeah.
So let's get to see what happens. And I truthfully like the call. So
I agree. I think it's smart.
Starting anybody for the Eagles this week, I'd probably say sit them all.
Yeah, we don't know what we're getting. We do not know what we're getting. We don't know where the target's going to fall. And I do think that for Ertz specifically, you don't have Dallas Goedert out there anymore. I think Ertz is really the main target now. Of course, still no Alshon. I don't know what's up with him if he's ever going to come back at this point. I mean, not literally, but that dude's always banged up. I just think that this Eagles team, outside of like Miles Sanders, who again banged up hamstring, thought he was back, thought he was good. He's not. Turns out. I think that this isn't a great matchup either. The Niners did lose some pieces there on defense, but they looked good last week, mind you. It was against the Giants, of course, but I do think that you got to sit him. You got to sit him. Just too much uncertainty here. Too much uncertainty.
Yeah, I mean that I 100% on that. Like, I think it's just gonna be a tough spot for it to be, and bad there. Like, I mean, and it literally comes down to so much injury going on there, and
Yeah, exactly.
then we're gonna get into it. You got Hayden Hurst. I mean, and 100% here you sit Hurst. That offense is so beat up down in with the Falcons. You have, I mean, they have Gage. Oh, not Gage. It was Ridley. I don't know if he's playing today. I seen he was hurt.
Yeah. So from everything I'm seeing, is Julio seems to be like he's probably not playing. Ridley seems like he might. Gage is back from concussion, but I mean, if they lose Julio and Ridley, I would consider Hurst a little bit. But I mean, if Ridley's out there, Ridley's going to be the target machine. Gage is going to be out there. He's going to be a target machine. I think that this is just a situation where we haven't seen a lot of production from Hayden Hurst. I mean, he got lucky with a couple.
They got a good defense
here,
too.
but
So this is a good Packers defense. I just don't think it's going to be.
Yeah, the Packers defense have been really good this year. That's a fact. They've been looked fantastic.
And they're calling Hunter Henry. It's kind of interesting. He's been in the top 10 here of tight ends, and but I guess there's just a lot over there. There's a lot that go to over there. A lot that go with the Chargers. I mean, you've been high on the defense with Tampa Bay.
Yeah, for sure. They've not allowed a touchdown to the position. And I mean, if you're a tight end, especially like a guy like Hunter Henry, there are some tight ends where you can expect production out of without touchdowns. But I think Hunter Henry is very touchdown dependent. At least the way this offensive looked. I mean, they're pass heavy, but those are going to Keenan Allen and those are going to Eckler for the most part. So I definitely think it'd be a good call to sit Henry here. Another thing, we got to see more out of him. We got to see more out of him.
And then getting into a defense, guys, if you guys need a defense and you can still pick them up, go pick up the Rams today. That is going to be my defensive call.
I like that. Against the Giants.
Just because they got the Giants and the Giants are bad on offense and defense, I think you can go pick them up and be safe at the same time and probably score a lot of points.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a defense that could be on the waiver too. And I mean, that's something really important with these starting.
I really think that, I mean, this is going to be something where Donald's just a freak right here. I think Donald's going to have a huge game. That offensive line is just not built for Donald. I mean, not very many lines are built for Donald, but
yeah. And then most importantly, we got Daniel Jones, man. He I don't know if he's colorblind, if he doesn't know who's on his team or what, but this guy throws interceptions like no one I've ever seen. Like, I remember Eli Manning leading the league in interceptions. Looks like Daniel Jones is on his way to doing that himself. Like, oof, man. It's a perfect opportunity for a bounce back here. You got to roll out that Rams defense.
No, they've called slot. They called Wentz out the game. He's not out the game, but he's not starting the game. They called that earlier this week. That
I can double check that. But yeah, I believe that was. I think that was.
They already
Wednesday.
Yeah, they called Hurts. Jalen's gonna start.
Yep, October 1st. He's gonna be starting against the Niners. Now I don't know if for sure he plays the entire game, if they're gonna try to sprinkle in Wentz, but I mean, I think that this is a matchup where the Niners team is possible to beat. I think Hurts for a first game could look good. I think I would consider Hurts on like a DFS, but I'm not going to touch him on year long, and I'm definitely not touching that offense right now. But yeah, Jalen Hurts starting. Fascinating stuff right there.
Yeah.
And then we mentioned you got to start that Bucs defense. I love them. I think that they're going to get sacks on sacks today. I mean, Herbert looks great, but I think that rookie quarterback's sometimes susceptible to that, and I just think that's something you got to look out for here.
Don't put that juju on my guy, man. I need him to give me somewhat of a look of Patrick Mahomes.
See, I think Herbert can go out and put up 18 to 22 fantasy points pretty easy
today, which works for me. I mean, I can get by 1 week.
That's a great number. I mean, if you're getting anything more than 15 from a quarterback, that's not a bad week. Of course, you want that 20-point upside, but I think that I think Herbert can succeed today while making some mistakes. I think that's what we see today. I think the Bucks win, but I think the Chargers look good today. I think they look real good today.
All right, we're gonna let
in
you.
a team that's not going to look today. Real quick, don't touch the Vikings or the Browns defense. Don't touch those things. Just don't touch them. Don't
All right,
touch them.
guys, we're gonna let JG get into his daily picks and whatnot.
All right, so this is typically through DraftKings. I just prefer their contests, honestly. I think that FanDuel, you get too many bots in there with the optimizers and stuff. So we've talked about pretty much everyone on this list today. The prices worked out perfect to where I'm really excited about this lineup. So from a pricing standpoint, we got Joe Burrow as our quarterback, only sitting 6,300. That's about the same price as a guy like Tom Brady, Deshaun Watson. And I think Burrow, he's got a fantastic matchup with Jacksonville today. And speaking of this game, we're going to pair him with Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd at only 6,100. I love that price. Looking at the same price as a guy like DJ Chark and Wolf Fuller, man, like that's a good deal right there. I mean, this is a guy who's put up 20 points in the past 2 games. I think that's an offense that's trending upwards, and I think it's going to be a shootout, which means we're also going to take our guy James Robinson here from the other side. His price is rising. Makes me a little nervous there. He's closing in on top 10 pricing. But, I mean, when you're looking at a guy at 6,500 being priced the same as like a Kareem Hunt, a Chris Carson, I really like Robinson today. And I'm someone who likes to play a lot of running backs. I love the running backs. I think with the flex position, you got to go running back. So we've got 2 running backs here. We talked about Austin Eckler a ton. We've got Austin Eckler in there. I think he's a fantastic play. He is another guy who's pricey, but I think that paying down in other spots has really opened up this lineup here. So I think we go Eckler. We pair him with Keenan Allen as well. I love that game. I think Keenan Allen and Eckler both going to have their 10 catches. Each going to have high yardage. And then also at that game, we got Scotty Miller. No Godwin today. Scotty Miller only 4,000 points, man. That's some high upside. Now, if Scotty Miller's out, I'll have to work on a pivot. We'll cross that road when we get there. At tight end, we're going to go TJ Hawkinson. We talked about him as well. Great matchup. Great pricing. He's pretty pricey, but I mean, same price as guys like Evan Ingram, Hunter Henry. I've got to take Hawkinson in this price range. He just gets too many targets. And then last but not least, at the flex here, that we mentioned the double running back system, or the 3 running backs. I like to go 3 running backs. We're going to go Darrell Henderson. Very cheap at only 58K or 5,800. This is the same price as a guy like Mark Ingram, David Johnson. Like Darrell Henderson is way better than these guys. He is so underpriced. I don't know what they're doing over there to have a guy averaging 14.2 points, only that cheap. But you got to go there. And then for defense, quite frankly, you got 2,800 left. Just pick something. I went with the Texans because I think Kirk is going to throw some picks because Kirk is Kirk. Kirk's going to Kirk. But I mean, you're looking at maybe like there's really not a great options there. But I mean, you could throw out like a Panthers defense and maybe get some turnovers. That's the thing with the defense here. You're looking for potential sacks and turnovers. And based on the pricing here, I think yeah. See, I do like the Rams a lot today, but I don't like to pay up at defense. I'd be paying an extra $1,400. You're looking at $3,900 for the Rams defense. Oof. I think they're priced perfect, but I think that I mean, I guess I could drop if I dropped Hawkinson down to a guy like maybe like a guy like Croft there for the Bills. You might be able to fit in the Rams because the defense can sometimes win you these games. But I like to pay down at certain positions, and I think the defense is just a position that I'm going to pay down at this week. So I'll let you guys know that scores. I think it looks pretty good. I think that for a cash game, that's an easy win. Tournament, I think it's got some really high upside. So I love that lineup this week. I think it builds off a lot of what we talk about, and I love to do the lineups based off what we're rocking.
Now, I guess getting into the waiver wire real quick here. What do you have? You got anything good for me?
So the waivers are a little thin right now in terms of I think a lot of people have picked up the guys that we're keeping an eye on. I do think that you want to keep an eye out on any last minute injuries. That's something that's always big with these waiver wires. I mean, you look at no Mike Thomas, no Jared Cook. So you're going to look at maybe if you can get Traquan or Emmanuel Sanders still. They're probably taken, though. But if you can get either of those guys, maybe even consider the backup tight end for the Saints. I think it's Josh Hill still. He's shown in the past that maybe he can show up. But, I mean, it's a very thin waiver these days. I mean,
especially with these teams, the way just losing games right now, people probably went crazy.
Yeah, that's the thing with waivers. You got to get on them early, which is why make sure you guys tune into the Tuesday show. Waivers are much easier balanced there, but I do think that a couple sneaky guys that you can go out and get. like we mentioned, if for some reason James Robinson's still floating around, I can't imagine he is, but I think someone that you got to keep an eye on, maybe not to use this week, but to stash for the future. We mentioned him last week was Chase Claypool. I think if he's still floating around, I think that Steelers team is the one that flings the rock a whole lot. I like that a lot. Maybe look at the Packers. Lazard is now out for the foreseeable future. I don't love Marquez Valdes-Scantling, but if he's going to be the number 2 there behind Adams, I think you've got to eyeball that. I think there's a chance we see Aaron Jones line up at wide receiver. Maybe A.J. Dillon starts to get some snaps there. I know you're high on him. So if he's out there, maybe get an eye on him. But I definitely think that it's a tough time for waivers because, I mean, just looking at our league here, there's not a lot that's available because if you have a really well-run league here with a lot of guys who are active, you're not going to see a lot of action. I mean, like our best name out here on the waivers is guys like Preston Williams out of Miami. I don't love that.
I think he's gonna have a day though. I honestly think he's gonna have a day.
I think it's a good matchup for sure. That's a great matchup today. Yeah, maybe Goff's available if you can get Goff. I can't imagine that someone's sleeping on Goff versus the Giants, but you can go grab that guy right there. Carry on. Don't like carry on. Dalton Schultz. There we go. If you don't have Dalton Schultz as a free agent there, you can go grab him. Tight end for the Dallas Cowboys. I think it's a pass-heavy offense. I think Mo Alley Cox as well. If you can find him, go get him as well. But a lot of uncertainty these days. I mean, especially when you look at the Eagles. Like, I'm not interested in Greg Ward because we don't know where we're getting out of Hurts. And it's just it's a very very built up season right now. I think a lot of guys are on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be, like I said, with these games going down like this, it's huge, man. It's definitely not a definitely bad, man, for the waiver wire. I mean, it's so like you're scrambling. You're scrambling now. Like everybody's scrambling, trying to figure it out, and it's just one of those things is where you grab anybody that has any upside to them.
Yeah, exactly. Because most of these high upside guys are gone in week 1, week 2. Sometimes you can get something lucky off an injury, like maybe get like some handcuffs out there. Like you're looking at a guy with high usage. Try to get their backup. Like God forbid something happens to a guy like Kamara, you want to get Latavius, stuff like that. But outside of handcuffs, man, the waivers are super thin right now, and I think that. What I would suggest is if some guys you're struggling to find a position for, just search by fantasy points per game on the season or overall scoring on the season, and then look at that compared to the opponent rank for the matchups. And I think you should be able to find some nice guys there. I think it's always a thing with waivers, though, where you want to look at the guys that score a lot. You don't want to look at matchups over anything because sometimes you look at a guy who might not produce, but you're like, it's a good matchup. And next thing you know, they're sitting there with like a donut and you feel real bad, real bad.
So I'm reading here, the Eagles are without Sean Jackson, Alshon Jeffrey, Jalen Reagor. That's crazy. 4 of their starting offensive linemen, Brandon Brooks, Andre Dillard, Jason Peters. Holy moly.
Ugly. And then that's why maybe getting, some no-name is a good play there. Maybe, like a Greg Ward, maybe he pops off with a because there's the thing, when you have a young quarterback, most of these quarterbacks practice with the second team. So a guy like Greg Ward might have a lot of chemistry with Jalen Hurts, and we just don't know that yet, And that's something that when you have a new guy starting, you don't really know what you're getting out of him from that standpoint, where you're looking at it and you're like, I mean, he might have reps, they might have chemistry, but he also might just, kind of feed the star. And the thing is, that team doesn't have a star outside Ertz here. And I think that you see Ertz get doubled and that team gets shut down. But yeah, I'm interested to see where this Jalen Hurts thing goes. From pretty much everything I'm seeing, he's going to start today. So I'm excited to see what happens here. Really excited to see what happens here.
I don't know where he got that because I'm not
saying. Yeah, everything I'm seeing is Jalen Hurts starting.
This might, I mean, it's going to be ugly regardless.
Oh, yeah.
Four starting linemen down, and you got no receivers.
But I think that's where something like Hurts might be okay, because, I mean, Wentz can be a little mobile, but I think that Hurts has just got that X factor. And here we go, big news. Big news regarding a game that we thought was postponed. This could change, but as of right now, Patriots Chiefs will kick off at 7:05 on Monday night. That's big. That's big. Now, here's where I worry. As of right now, only 2 guys on those teams got it: Cam and the practice squad for the Chiefs, the practice squad quarterback there. But we still got 24 hours here till this game, over that. So if another test comes up, this game's going to get moved completely. So while right now Patriots Chiefs is scheduled for tomorrow, I do not want to bet on it. If you don't have a waiver or a bench,
I'm not playing anybody.
if you don't have anyone on the bench or the waiver that you can slot in from the Falcons Packers game, I'm not starting a Patriots Chiefs player. I think that is far too risky. I think that, quite frankly, they're foolish if they're going to run this game. You're telling me Cam Newton practiced all week in the huddle with these guys? Not a single one of them got it? There's an incubation period. Man. Well, that's big, though. That's big. That's big for a Pats fan, of course. Very nervous about seeing Hoyer the Destroyer, as for some reason people seem to call him. I don't know what he destroys besides the Pats' chances of winning. But in my opinion, it should be Stidham season, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens there, but that's big right there. That's a big move for the NFL to potentially put that game on still, despite all the questions here regarding COVID.
It's crazy. It's gonna be wild. But guys, I think that might be the show for today. We'll be back on, because I mean it's all pretty much self-explanatory. We can sit here and go all day, but we'll be back on Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. We'll run through all the games over the weekend. We like to do like a oversight of that, get into a little waiver wire, and then also get into Thursday night's game. So 7 p.m. Eastern, guys, we will be live again with that.
Absolutely.
So then, guys, peace.